Okay, hey people, welcome back to another episode of Pillow Talk. My name is Claudia, and if you are new here, welcome. This is a YouTube channel that is basically acting as a place where I can discuss topics of sexual wellness, sexual pleasure, and kind of unpack people's questions surrounding these normally taboo topics and providing advice or education in any way that I can. It is Valentine's Day when this comes out, so happy Valentine's Day to you and yours if you are celebrating. I'll just give a few life updates. I'm feeling gross. I'm feeling disgusting. My hair is so greasy. I just started retinol, and I have like the retinol purge skin right now, so basically like everything gross in my skin is coming out, which is great, but also means that I look fucking gross, so love that. This past year started exploring my queerness, which has been incredible and terrifying and confusing. All that to say, I got laid off. That was not great, but you know, life happens, and I'm hoping that it will be something that's kind of a kick in the ass to actually start doing the things that I want to do, which include doing more content focused on sexual wellness and creating accessible knowledge for people to access. I love speaking. In the same style of last year's video where I did a loveline and I did a prompt to my followers on Instagram for questions about sex, relationships, it can be kind of just about anything that you might be dealing with. Sorry, I'm like standing on my knees right now, so I'm in pain. Thank you so much if you submitted a question, and I'm gonna do two parts because there were just so many questions that I want to cover, but I also realized that this video shouldn't be like a million years long. Let's get started. My breakup is making me go insane. How do I believe I'll find a better match someday? Okay, so this first question really stuck with me because I too just experienced semi-recently a breakup. There's something so uniquely painful about a breakup where it can feel like the entire universe is basically conspiring against you. But the truth of the matter is that it's not. During a breakup, it is very easy to center yourself in the midst of all of your pain, and in some ways this is really helpful. I know a lot of people say that a breakup is the perfect time to be selfish and to do things that you want to do to care for yourself in the ways that other people maybe weren't able to. But I also like to use breakups as a time where I really just reflect on all of the people that rally around you to provide support in some possible way. And these people can include yourself. The small ways in which you are showing yourself love and care, that love is a really good example, whether it's your friends, your family, yourself, even strangers who are just kind to you. It is an excellent example of the love that is out there in the universe. And I know that sounds kind of woo-woo and maybe doesn't really have a lot of grounds right now, especially if you are in pain, but there is so much love out there to be felt. And if that is possible and you're experiencing it right now and you were experiencing it before, then think about the romantic possibilities that are abound as well. I feel like I've said this before, but it is just really comforting to think about. The next love that you feel, because you will experience love again in your life, I can promise you that, it won't be the same. It's actually most likely going to be different, but that is good. That might actually be even better. Because right now you're not with the person that you were with, and I'm sure there were reasons behind that, whether they're reasons that you agree with or reasons that maybe they presented. You're not with that person, and who's to say that down the line maybe you'll come back together, but in the meantime you have so much love to experience and so many ways that you can let it tear you apart and rebuild you, and that's terrifying, but it's also kind of exciting. This one kind of goes along with the same vibe of breakups and coming out of them. How do I not feel and love too intensely after a breakup to work on me? So I personally find that choosing a hobby the ghost of Hobby Lobby just moved through me. I personally find that choosing a hobby and sticking to it is usually the best way to exert energy when you're feeling like all you can do is think about this person, you want to talk to this person, and it can be really easy to slip back into familiar patterns of seeking out a partner to fill a void, or going back to a previous partner like an ex to have some familiarity. I personally think it could be helpful if you challenge yourself to do the same thing. It can be a new thing, or it can just be something that you used to do and you've kind of given up on, or told yourself when you were in a relationship, oh, I just don't have time to do that. Do this thing every day for 30 days, and you can have a friend join in, or you can just have someone keep you accountable. And in this way, you are spending your time doing an activity that solely you are interested in. You're investing your time the way that you want to, and you're allowing your energy to be directly channeled into something that impacts you. How do you deal with something like DPDR and staying present in the moment? So DPDR is an acronym that stands for depersonalization derealization disorder. And it typically feels like you're seeing yourself from a third party. It feels like you are outside of your body observing it. And I currently experience this as a side effect of PTSD, and I am in therapy for it. And one of the modes of healing that we use in therapy is EMDR. That's what I am currently undergoing. And this is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I'll put some EMDR resources in the comments or in the description. I'll put them down there. We are using some of these modalities to combat this feeling when it does overcome me. Here are some tactics that I've learned, and maybe they can be helpful for you. The first is a butterfly hug for bilateral stimulation. It looks like this. It's very easy to do. You just cross your hands over your chest. You can also do it on your knees, and you just gently tap either side repeatedly at a steady pace. This is a really good self-soothing tool, and I personally really like it because you can do it in public and it doesn't feel like you're drawing attention to yourself, which sometimes you just really don't want to do. I also think it could be helpful to choose an object that you have handy that is pretty tactile and that you can kind of use as a grounding object in these moments when you feel yourself experiencing derealization. So it can be something that's soft, something that's kind of any type of textured object that's small. You can keep it in your pocket, on your keychain, and so it can just be really helpful, especially when you feel these sensations of detachment from your body, to have something that you can hold and kind of interact with. Okay, I had to switch it up a little bit because my knees were hurting so fucking much. If you also experience derealization in the middle of sex and you are with a partner you feel comfortable with, it could be a good idea to come up with a safe word that can indicate to your partner in so many words that you are having an experience of derealization and you just need to remove yourself from the sex act for a moment and practice some of these grounding techniques. I hope this helps, and I am happy to put more resources in the description below, as I said. Is foreplay important if you have a big one and you make them O at the end? I love getting questions like this because I just find it so interesting to see how we even talk about sex. And the ways in which we don't want to explicitly say things when we are discussing sex. So first and foremost, yes, foreplay is important, even if you have a big penis. Foreplay doesn't have to be anything elaborate. I think a lot of times when we think of foreplay, we think of things like using feathers and using handcuffs and blindfolds. And while all of this can encompass foreplay, foreplay can be anything from kissing to light touching to gentle massage. It is basically anything that is allowing both you and your partner to become sexually aroused and stimulated. This actually makes me think about Dr. Emily Nagoski, who wrote Come As You Are. She talks about the way that there are 3 different types of desire. There is spontaneous desire, which majority of men or people with penises experience, and this is not needing stimulation to get you aroused. The other one is responsive desire, and this requires a stimulant, but it's the desire that arises in response to a stimuli. And the third is contextual. So I'm mentioning these different types of desires to say that some people have spontaneous desire, but other people have responsive desire, and responsive desire does require stimulation and quote-unquote foreplay in order to feel that arousal. And again, if you have a big dick, then you will definitely want to ensure that your partner is aroused and well lubricated to avoid any discomfort. How to tell your partner she is bad at giving head. So you don't say that. What may feel good for one person might not feel good for another. So in the past, maybe the people that she has had oral sex with may have liked one thing that now you might not like. I think it's better to not focus on what you don't like about what she's doing and instead guide her towards what you do like. It's kind of the same thing as what people say when you are in a partnership and you're experiencing conflict. It's always better to go with I statements as opposed to you statements. So it's not you're doing this wrong, you're bad at this. It's I prefer this, I like when you do this, and it just reframes it so that you're not offending her, you're not making her feel insecure. What could be helpful is if you ask her to do X when she's going down on you, for instance. If there's a certain thing when you're receiving oral that you enjoy, you can ask her, hey, can you try this out? I really like when you do that and it feels really good. You can also ask her to tell you what she enjoys when you go down on her. That way the sex can feel more reciprocal and communicative without necessarily feeling didactic. Favorite toys for couples, I personally like Clutch by Unbound. It's a dual stimulating vibrator. Other fun and maybe less intimidating things to incorporate into the bedroom for couples, the Intimacy card game by Wanderlust. It is an incredible deck of cards that allows you to ask each other prompts and open up the door to having more vulnerable conversations. I think it's really great for like if you're doing a wine and chill date with someone. I also think that handcuffs are a really easy way to start playing with kink and power play in the bedroom. I really like these ones from Unbound. They're simple, they're silicone, they're not intimidating to look at or use, and I'll put a link in the description below. What's the best way to keep a relationship alive with someone who has opposite interests? So I think it's actually really great that you have opposite interests and you can actually use that to y'all's advantage. It could be fun to create a shared list between you and your partner of ideas that each of you want to do, and this can range from an activity like going rock climbing to just a movie that you've wanted to watch or a restaurant you've wanted to go to. And that way, whenever you're feeling stumped about what to do, or you're like, okay, we have a date night coming up, what are we supposed to do? You can turn to the list and you have equal options from either person to try out. And for more sexual exploration, if you have different interests, you can each take a compatibility quiz, kind of like the We Should Try It quiz, and that allows each of you to vote yes or no on different sexual scenarios that are presented to you, and at the end of the quiz it presents the ones that you both answered similarly on, which I think is just a really good way to start the conversation of what each of you like, and it might surprise you what you find out. I'm gonna wrap it up with this question because this is actually a question that I get a lot, and I feel like it opens up a lot of really interesting conversations about what people desire, again, and what men believe women desire. Because when I get questions about, does size matter? Does being a virgin matter? I realize how much we are socialized to believe these things in quite literally so much of the media that we consume. I got the question, are people turned off by inexperience? I personally don't think so. When I think about what turns me off, I don't think about experience. I think more about people who assume that sex is the same across the board for any person they're having sex with. People who don't really prioritize the pleasure of their partner when they're having sex with them, or don't act like sex is involving another person in general. You don't necessarily have to have experience to have these very basic concepts of respect and compassion and reciprocation when it comes to sex. Just because you maybe don't know how to perform a certain sex act on someone doesn't make you any less of a viable sexual partner. If anything, knowing how to communicate with someone, knowing how to ask them what they like, check in with them, make sure that they feel like their pleasure is of importance to you, I think is far beyond any experience you can have. And sure, you can learn more when you have experience, but you also meet a lot of people who have had sex with a lot of women or a lot of men or a lot of anyone, and they might not be a good sexual partner. It really all depends on how you're approaching sex and what you're prioritizing and what your values are. And I don't think you need to have a ton of sex or have had experienced sex in order to be a compassionate person in the bedroom. I hope this was a fun, chatty video. Again, I got so many questions, so I'm definitely gonna do a part 2. I'll do it at some point. TBD, don't hold me to it, but I really want to thank you all again for submitting your questions to me and just for trusting me in answering these and actually valuing my advice. I am just a girl in an apartment with a microphone talking into it. I am still learning, and I know basically nothing except for my own experiences and research. And so I just feel really lucky to be able to do this, and I value each and every one of you that support me and view this video. If you liked what you saw, I hate that I'm doing that, but if you liked this video, like it, subscribe to this channel, share it with anyone that you think might find it helpful, and my DMs are open. If you have any questions, if you have something that you want me to cover, I'm here to listen. And I hope you have the best Valentine's Day. I hope you eat a lot of delicious sweets, and yeah, that's it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.